Hello everyone, welcome to Coding Entity. Today we're going to solve the third question of Educational Code Forces round 132 rated for Division 2. So we're going to solve the third question. I'm going to upload it after the contest, so just so that you know I am not in the favor of cheatings and other things. So I'm recording now and I'll upload it up as soon as the contest ends. So let me show you the question. So this question is recover RBC. Okay, so RBS, recover and RBS. So RBS is basically a regular bracket sequence. So regular bracket sequence is basically a valid bracket sequence. So any bracket sequence which is a valid bracket sequence is known as RBS or regular bracket sequence. So this bracket sequence is valid. Some examples are this bracket sequence is valid, this bracket sequence is valid, this bracket sequence is valid. So we can add expressions in them, so we are not going to look at these expressions and all of these things, but just to know that these bracket sequences are valid. Okay, now let's talk about valid bracket sequence first before solving and before looking at the test cases. So any valid bracket sequence will have at any given index. So let's say we have a string. So at any given index, the number of opening brackets will always be either equals to, so number of opening brackets will either be greater than or equals to the number of closing brackets. So this is like the valid bracket sequence. And another condition is, so this is an opening and I guess this is in closing, yeah. So at any given index, so at any given I, this should be the case. Number of opening brackets should be greater than or equals to number of closing brackets. So this will be a valid bracket sequence, and another condition would be that looking at the whole string. Okay, so looking at the whole string. So from the index 0 to n minus 1, number of opening brackets should be equals to number of closing brackets. So these are like two conditions. So we have to check at every index that whether number of opening brackets are like greater than or equals to number of closing brackets or not. Okay, so let me give you an example. So let's say this is an valid bracket sequence, right? Again, this is a valid bracket sequence. So you can see that at this index, number of opening brackets is equals to number of closing brackets. So it satisfy both of the conditions. So the whole string satisfy both of the condition. You can check both of the conditions. Same goes for this as well. Now, let's check for this index. Okay, let's for this index. So at this index, there are two opening brackets and one closing bracket. So opening brackets are greater than or equals to the closing bracket. And at the last index, there are two opening brackets and two closing brackets. Okay, so in this case as well, at last index there are two opening brackets and two closing brackets. If we look at this index as well, there are two opening brackets and one closing bracket. So these two sequences are called a valid sequence. Now let's talk about some invalid sequence to give you an example. So this is an invalid sequence. Why? Because at the first index, a number of opening brackets are zero, which is like less than number of closing bracket, which is one. So this is not going to satisfy the first condition, which is number of opening bracket should be greater than or equals to number of closing bracket, right? So this is like kind of an invalid case, and another invalid case could be this. This is again an invalid case. So these are like some invalid cases, okay, or like invalid sequences, or like they are not regular bracket sequence. So this is a regular bracket sequence, and this is not a regular bracket sequence. All right, so we only have to take care of these two conditions. I hope you have understood these two conditions, that at any given index in a string, if we are taking things from prefix, opening bracket should be greater than or equals to the closing brackets. And at the last index, if we look at the whole string, from first index to last index, number of opening brackets should be equals to number of closing bracket. Okay, these are like the two conditions. So let me write them as well. So just all right. So the first condition is, we have two conditions. So the first condition says that uh, from start till any index I, uh, all right, still any index I, number of opening bracket should be greater than equals to number of closing bracket. Okay, this should be the first case. From the start. All right, from the start means that from the index 0 till any index I, number of opening brackets should be equals to number of closing brackets. Okay, and the second case is in the whole string. In the whole string, total or let's say that number of opening bracket should be equals to number of closing bracket. All right. So this should be the case of the whole string. So we have these two cases, and this both of these conditions should satisfy. All right, now let's go to the question again. So we have been given that like we were initially given a regular bracket sequence or a valid bracket sequence. Okay, this was initially given to us. So initially a sequence was given to us which was satisfying both of these conditions. Okay, which was satisfying both of these conditions. But now what happened is they have changed some of the brackets to question mark. Okay, so they have changed some of the brackets to question mark. Now we have to find that whether it is possible, if we replace question mark with brackets, right? So then it is going to form regular bracket sequence. But we have to find that is there a single way or multiple way of replacing these brackets? Okay, if there is a single possible way, so let's say in the first case we replacing this question mark, we have only one valid option, is to replace this question mark with an opening bracket. Okay, that's why we have one valid option. But in the second case we have like many valid options. You can see that this could be opening closing, again this could be opening closing, or like there are many options like three opening brackets and three closing brackets. So in the second case we have many options. We are only looking for single option. In the third case, like they are already, there is no question mark, so like this is a valid answer. So there is like only a single unique way. In the third case, we so there is only one option to replace this question mark. It is with the first question mark should be replaced with opening, and second question mark should be replaced with a closing bracket. There is no other way of solving this case. And in the last case, you can see that there are two possible ways. Okay, there are two possible ways. So now our question is up to like whether we are able to convert it into a string with opening brackets and closing brackets. So how many ways are possible? So we don't have to count the ways, we just only have to think that whether there are more than a single possible way or not to replace this question mark. Okay, we just have to find that. Okay, so now let's look at the solution approach. What I have thought. Okay, so what I have thought is, let's say we have given a string. Okay, we have given a string. So what we are going to do is we are going to initially do two things. So this string is going to contain question marks as well as opening brackets as well as closing brackets. Okay, so this question mark could be present at any index. So what we did was to make the string valid. One thing should always be done is that at the 0th index we should have an opening bracket, and at the last index we should have an closing bracket. And another thing that we have been given is that initially this was a regular bracket sequence. That means that this was a valid sequence. So that means that we can definitely, without looking at it, either at the 0th index we have already been given an opening bracket, so either they have already given us an opening bracket or they have given us question mark. So if they have given us a question mark, we can directly replace it with an opening bracket. And for the last index as well, either they have given us a closing bracket or they have given us a question mark. So at the last index as well, we can do this. We can replace it with a closing bracket. So yeah, we can do this. So we have done this. This is like the first step, and like we are going to talk about this step at the end as well. Okay, so this is like the first step. Now talking at the second step, let's say that I've written few things. Let me show you what I've done. So like I have taken brackets as well as question. So I'm going to explain to you what I have done. So what my basic approach is that let's think for a second that we don't have any question mark. Okay, we only have opening bracket and closing bracket. So what we are going to do is I'm taking opening bracket as +1 and I'm taking a closing bracket at -1. So I'm going to take prefix sum of this string, or let's convert it to a number array. So this is going to be plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, minus 1, minus 1, minus 1. So if we take prefix sum at any given point, our sum should be either greater than or equals to 0, right? Or if the sum goes less than 0, that means that a number of closing brackets is greater than number of opening brackets, right? So this is what I've done. I've taken opening brackets as a positive value and I've taken closing brackets as negative value. And I'm doing addition and subtraction in the variable brackets. Okay, in the variable brackets. And I'm also taking care of questions as well. Okay, so this is I've done. So if you look at any valid option or any valid string or invalid string as well, and if we try to solve it using this, taking this as a positive one and taking this as a negative one, and let's just take prefix sum, and let's check for each index that whether at that index prefix sum is greater than or equals to 0 or not. Okay, so this should be the first condition, and second condition should be at the end of the loop our prefix sum should be equals to 0. So these are like the two conditions which we have talked before as well, but we have changed it in positive and negative values. Okay, just to simplify the question, now what I've done is I've like taken care of two more conditions. Okay, two more conditions. So initially we were given a valid sequence. Okay, initially we were given a valid sequence. So let's say we have a case like this. Let's take a case like this. Okay, let's take a case like this, and let's say we have some more question marks. Okay, so at this index we can see that there is one extra closing bracket, right? There is one extra closing bracket, or we can see that if we like not consider question mark, the prefix sum at this index is going to be minus 1. All right, prefix sum at this index is going to be minus 1. That means that this question mark should definitely be replaced by a opening bracket. Like there is no other option. If we replace it by closing bracket, then this four closing brackets will not get an opening bracket. Because of this reason, we are going to replace this question mark by an opening bracket. Okay, I hope like you have got this case. So this is like an important case. If we have got a case like this, when there are more closing brackets, right? So then what we're going to do is we are going to replace the question marks with opening bracket. So I have checked that if the brackets are minus 1, that means that the closing brackets are like there is one extra closing bracket, right? In this case there is one extra closing bracket, and we have a question mark as well. So we will definitely going to have a question mark because this string is formed from a valid sequence. That's why it is guaranteed that there should be a question mark present if there are more closing brackets. Okay, so that's why without looking at anything, what I did was I made this question mark as opening bracket. If I made this question mark as opening bracket, then our prefix sum is going to become 0. Okay, so our prefix sum is 0, and I have replaced one question mark. So my question count is equals. So I have decreased my question count as well. Okay, so this is one case, and this is kind of important case. Okay, so we have taken care of this case. Another case is that let's say our brackets are 0 now. Okay, so let's say we have a case like this. Brackets are 0 or our prefix sum is 0, then we encounter a question mark. Okay, after our prefix sum we encounter a question mark. Now what are the possible options of this question mark? Can this question mark be opening or can this question mark be closing? So answer would definitely be this question mark should be an opening bracket, right? Because there are no question marks available previously. So if we made this question mark a closing bracket, then this closing bracket is never going to find a opening bracket, which is like previously there are no question mark. That's why this closing bracket is never going to find a opening bracket. That's why we make it as a closing bracket. Sorry, opening bracket. Okay. So I've done this. I've seen that if like brackets or the prefix sum is 0. So in this case, prefix sum was 0. And we have only single question mark. So at the end, we have found a single question mark, right? So this question mark could be here or could be inside as well. But let's say we have found a single question mark. Then this question mark should definitely be a opening bracket. So what I did was I increased my bracket, increased my prefix sum from 0 to 1, We could have written brackets plus plus as well, uh, brackets plus plus as well, and question minus minus as well. But what we have done is we have replaced this question mark with an opening bracket. So I have decreased my question to 0 and I have increased my prefix sum to 1. So this is it, and at the end I'm checking that at the end. So at the end what I'm doing is, let's say after doing all of these things, after running the for loop, let's say I am now left with question marks which are greater than 2. Okay, so like I have done something like here, so we should not write ABS, so this would be fine as well. Yeah. Okay, so what we have done is we are just checking that let's say at the end total number of question mark. So total number of question mark present is n, right? And total number of prefix sum. So prefix sum should definitely be positive because we have not allowed negative prefix sum. We are always taking care of negative prefix sum. Okay, so prefix sum should be a positive value m, right? So in this case, all of like we are just doing one thing is that all of the opening brackets. So there are like a lot of opening brackets that are left and a lot of question marks that are left. So all of these question marks are definitely going to get replaced by closing brackets, right? But after replacing as well, so what I did was I have just minus question with brackets. So what this is doing is, let's say I have 5 question mark and 2 brackets. All right. So 2 opening brackets and 5 question marks. So not five, four question marks, because that could not be odd. So I have 4 question marks. So what I can do is I can replace 2 question marks, but now again I'm left with 2 more question marks. All right. So if I'm left with 2 more question marks, that means that it could be like anything. I could have replaced these 2 question marks as well, like with closing bracket and this with opening and closing bracket. So in that case, if I am left with more than two, or like more than 2 question marks, right? If I'm left with more than 2 question marks, in that case, our answer is going to be like, wait 1 second. So yeah, if I like greater than or equals to 2 question mark, if we are left with greater than or equals to 2 question mark, after like replacing all of the opening brackets as well, then our answer would be no. And if at the end like there is only, let's say, a single question mark left, right, or no question mark left, so in that case as well, we are going to return yes. So this is a valid answer, and I'm getting an AC as well. So this is it. Yeah, this question has also accepted as well. So if you have any other doubt regarding this question, please feel free to ask it in the comments. So let me just go through the last step again. Okay, so what we did here was, let's say we are left with 5 opening brackets. So these brackets are just saying that prefix sum, right? And prefix sum, and I've already told you that prefix sum should be positive at the end of this for loop. So let's say our prefix sum is 5, and let's say our question marks is also 5, right? And count of question mark is also 5, and this is prefix sum. So that means that we have total of 5 opening brackets and 5 question marks. So these question marks are definitely going to get replaced with closing brackets. And now let's say that I have 7 opening brackets left, right? 7 opening brackets left. No, not 7. Let's say 3 opening brackets left. Okay, and I have 5 closing brackets. 5 closing brackets. Sorry, 5 question marks. 3 prefix sum and 5 question marks. So in this case, these 3 opening brackets require 3 closing bracket. So any of these 3 question marks will get replaced by closing bracket. But still we have like 2 question mark left, right? We have 2 question mark left. Because of this question mark is left, if we have like 2 question mark left, that means that this is going to be an opening and closing bracket. And like we could have taken 3 question marks as this and this as well. But if we had like, let's say, no question mark left, then that case was good. So like I could have done one more thing as well. If question, so question should be 0. What I'm saying is question should be strictly 0 in our case. Let's just try this as well. I guess this should also work fine. And initially, let's just try this as well. Okay, I guess let me submit the third question. Submit code.cpp. Okay, so this is also fine. So what I'm saying is there should be like no extra brackets or extra question marks left. So if we have three opening brackets, then we should definitely have three question marks. If we have more than three question mark, that means that we are not good, right? So those question mark could be anything. So if we don't have three question mark, then we definitely are going to have let's say five question marks. In this case, what is going to happen is these three question marks could get replaced with any of the three brackets, and we would have left two question marks. So position of these two question marks should be anything. So these two question marks could be this one or this one or this one or this one, right? So because of this reason, we are like doing this. If like any question mark left, then we are going to return no. If no question mark left, then we are going to return yes. And we are already taking care of question with brackets as well. So let's say we have five brackets left, then we are deducting five questions as well here. So this line is also unnecessary. Okay. So we have done this. So this is it. If you have any doubt regarding this question, please feel free to ask it in the comments. So thank you everyone.